So, you've got an IoT product for the Japanese market, and you've heard about JC Star. What's next? Well, that's exactly what we're here to demystify. We're going to break down the entire application process, step by step, to give you a super clear roadmap. All right, here's our game plan. We've got 5 main stops on this journey. First up, we'll talk about the mission behind JC Star. Then, we'll get you prepped for the application. After that, we'll look at the actual toolkit you'll need, walk through how to submit it, and finally, what happens after you get that shiny new label. All right, first things first. Section 1, the JC Star mission. Before we dive into all the forms and procedures, it really helps to understand what this thing is and, more importantly, why it even matters. So, who's running the show? That would be Japan's Information Technology Promotion Agency, or IPA for short. They're the official certification body. Basically, they're the folks you'll be interacting with throughout this whole process. Okay, this is a really crucial point. What does this label actually mean? It's not some magic shield that makes your product 100% unhackable. Think of it more like a seal of approval. It's a formal declaration that your product has been checked against a specific list of security requirements and passed the test for its particular star level. Now this is a great visual. It shows you the different security levels, they call them stars. See how they stack up? Star 1 is like the base layer, the foundation that everything else is built on. Now for this guide, we're going to be zeroing in on Star 1 and Star 2. Why? Because these are the ones you can get through a self-declaration process. Okay, Section 2. Let's talk about prep work. Seriously, getting everything ready before you even touch a form is going to make your life so much easier. First question you got to ask yourself, and it's a big one, is your IoT product even eligible for JC Star in the first place? This picture really tells the story. Look at Company B over there. Their product talks directly to the internet using IP communication. So for them, JC Star is mandatory. But now look at Company A. Their device connects through a gateway, it's not direct IP, so technically they don't have to apply, but, and this is the important part, they probably should anyway, just to stay competitive in the market. It's a huge advantage. All right, so you've got 2 main roads you can go down here. On the left, we have self-declaration. This is for Star 1 and Star 2, and it's exactly what it sounds like. You assess your own product. On the right, there's the conformance assessment for the higher Star 3 and Star 4 levels. That's a much more intense process involving an external evaluator. As we said, we're sticking to the self-declaration path in this explainer. Okay, homework time. Before you do anything else, you have to read these documents. And I cannot say this loudly enough, always, and I mean always, download the latest versions directly from the IPA website. Don't use that one you saved on your desktop 6 months ago. Seriously, using an old form is the #1 reason applications get sent right back. All right, prep work's done. Let's move on to Section 3, building your application toolkit. This is where we get into the paperwork. So for that Star 1 or Star 2 self-declaration, these are your key players. You've got the application confirmation, the application form itself, that all-important self-assessment checklist, and then an optional authorization letter. We're going to break down the big ones. Let's start with Form 2.1, the application confirmation. The easiest way to think about this is like the official cover letter for your whole submission. It's the front page that says, hey, we're serious about this, and it needs to be signed by someone who actually has the authority to say that. Now, on that form, you're going to see 2 key roles, and it's super important to know the difference. You've got the person responsible. This is the big boss, the one with the authority to sign on the dotted line. Then you have the person in charge. This is your project manager, your point person, the one who's actually going to get the emails and phone calls from the IPA. They can be the same person, but you have to be clear who is who. So how do you get that signature? Well, the IPA gives you 3 options, which is nice. You can go modern with a digital signature, you can go traditional with a name and seal, or just a good old-fashioned handwritten signature. Whatever works for your company. Okay, let's talk about the self-assessment checklist. This is really the core of your application. It's where you state that your product meets all the requirements. But there's a catch, and it's a big one: timing. Once you complete this checklist, a 90-day countdown starts. You have to get your entire application submitted within that 90-day window, or you'll have to do the checklist all over again. So what if you're not doing this all yourself? Maybe you've brought in a consultant or an agent to help out. That's where this authorization letter form 2-3 comes in. It's pretty straightforward. It's just the official piece of paper that says, yep, we authorize this person to act on our behalf. Okay, your documents are all gathered, everything's filled out, we're at the home stretch. Section 4, the submission process. It's time to send this thing in. And here it is, the final 5 steps to the finish line. Step 1. Shoot an email to the JC Star contact to get your application number. Step 2. Use that number to submit all your documents. Step 3. Sit tight and wait for the notice of acceptance and the bill. Step 4. Pay the application fee. And finally, Step 5. Get your conformance label. Boom, done. And you know what? That last part happens pretty fast. Once they confirm you've paid, the label is usually issued in about 2 weeks. Not bad at all, right? Okay, I need you to listen closely to this part because it trips people up. You do all this self-assessment, you generate all this evidence and test reports, but you don't actually send it in with the application. I know, it sounds weird, but you are obligated to keep every single piece of that evidence on file for the entire time your label is valid. Why? Because the IFPA can ask for it at any moment. It's like an open book test where you have to have the book ready to go at all times. All right, Section 5, you did it. You're approved. But this isn't the finish line. Getting the label is actually the starting line for what comes next, showing the world your product is secure. So what do you get once you're approved? Well, for starters, the label is good for 2 years. You can now officially slap that JC Star logo on your product, your website, your marketing materials, the whole shebang. Your product also gets a nice listing on the official IPA website, which is great for visibility. But remember, with great power comes great responsibility. You are now on the hook for maintaining that level of security for the next 2 years. Look, at the end of the day, this certification is more than just a piece of paper. It's a massive trust signal for your customers. It's a tool. So the final thought I want to leave you with is this. Now that you have it, how are you going to use it? How will you tell your product security story to the world?